My name is Devin White, and I am interviewing Leonard Baer today on Suddenly Solo One and learning a bit more about him and his business and why he does what he does. Leonard, would you mind giving me an introduction to your background in law and how you got started?
No problem. Let me say this first of all. Getting started, this was something I was always interested in. And since I was a youngster, I wanted to be a lawyer. I enjoyed watching the television, the movies, and I just kind of moved into that wanting to do or be what those people were. In this particular thing that we're talking about, this particular service that we're talking about, Suddenly Solo One, I have been involved for the last 20 years, focusing my practice on estate planning, financial planning, elder law planning. And as a result, I've had an opportunity to become very involved with families. I've also done what's called probate mediation, which means I was asked by the clerks of various courts to come in and try to work as a facilitator or a mediator with families that are either contesting wills, having difficulty with the will or probate. So again, I was asked to apply some of these skills to this particular area of the law. Um, it's working with families that became the most interest for me. One of the advantages of being in a practice like estate planning or elder law is that you not only deal with one client, you actually deal with several family members who, although they are not technically clients, I deal with them all the time.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. What have you seen in your practice which created this idea?
As part of what I just introduced, as part of what I've seen, uh, you see married couples. At least when I'm doing planning for couples, it's not unusual that there is a dynamic where spouses generally assume certain roles, and it just probably happens just automatically. One spouse could handle the investments, could handle the bills. Uh, One spouse handles various other things. So there's kind of a split that takes place almost naturally, where where couples are assigned different tasks. What happens, of course, is when one spouse dies, the dynamic changes, and then all of a sudden, some of the skill set or some of the tasks that one spouse did automatically is now thrust upon the surviving wife or the surviving husband. And this became very interested, or I became very interested in this dynamic because it created the confusion that when one spouse is gone, all of this is left and remaining on the other. There is a period, as I've actually written before in a blog that I wrote, which was called When Everyone Has Gone Home. You see people congregate at the home of the spouse or the widow or widower, and everybody tries to be helpful and everybody tries to do what they can, and then they go, and then they all go home. And then what I've seen is this confusion, this terrible. Not only are they in a state of confusion and in a state of emotion because of the death, but they keep looking over into the corner of a desk because they see all this mail that's piling up. They don't know what to do, and it becomes almost a source of panic.
Got it. So, what specifically do you do to help the population that needs the service?
Well, first of all, you have to gain the trust of someone. Someone contacts me either through uh, a referral, can be through other sources. People will contact me. First thing is you have to gather trust. Now, I generally get on the phone with them, or we will do a Zoom meeting, or we will do some other video platform so we get to know each other. Then I get to understand what is it that they're seeing, what's accumulating, what mail's coming in. And generally, they're getting mail from pension companies, they're getting mails from insurance companies, they're getting mail from Social Security. If they're old enough, Medicare. Various things are happening, and they don't know how to handle it. And it's not that they don't intrinsically know how to handle it, but what is going on in their life right now. is something that they need help on. There's a sense of confusion as to what they do. What I try to do is set up a protocol from them. We go over all of these things. We see exactly what they are. We see who has to be called, either by me if I have to, or I advise the client who needs to be called, when they need to be called. But we put together a plan. So all of a sudden, instead of a confused set of mail, what they do now have is a plan. Who do we call first? What needs to be done? Do I have to send this back? Do I have to follow this thing through? Are there passwords that we have to collect? The various things that happen when the other spouse is not there to tell his wife or his husband or her husband what they're doing. So we put together a protocol, and I think that's the most important thing. And I think that when a client sees that there can be some order to this chaos, they start to feel better.
Definitely. And what has been the outcome when people have used your service?
What we see generally is that, or what I have seen really, is that they start to feel more comfortable with their ability to handle these things. Many widows or widowers are very, not only, I wouldn't say confused, but they're almost embarrassed sometimes that the little things are things that they really can't focus on, don't know what to do. It's like sometimes trying to put a key in a lock and turn it in the dark. You know it's there, you know I have to do it, but you're fumbling around. And what you're trying to accomplish, and what I'm trying to accomplish with the individual, is giving them a sense that they can do this if they follow a certain plan and stay with that plan that's organized, that they can see what needs to be done, how it needs to be done, who needs to be called, what has to happen in the future. Do they need help with certain other issues? But the idea is to make them feel comfortable and confident that they can do this on their own. And if they have difficulty, of course, they can call me on it. What I normally see, and what I have seen personally, is that children in good faith and lovingly try to help their parents or try to help the surviving spouse, surviving parent with all of these things. And sometimes it becomes overwhelming. And sometimes because the spouse is in such an emotional state, they will allow someone else to take on this responsibility. And what I try to tell my clients is that try to hold on to your independence. Try to hold on to the things you can do. Because once you've lost control, it's going to be very difficult to get that control back. So the whole idea is to have a plan, stay with the plan, know what the plan is, understand the responsibilities with my help, and then be able to function by themselves to do these things. What the service can't do, certainly, is I can't make the emotional aspect of this go away. They're going to have to go through their own grief process. But what I can do is allow a certain aspect of that. Small things like mail piling up and not knowing what they are become so overwhelming that that's the only focus that they have, and it keeps them up. That's what this is trying to do. And again, I always tell my clients, and I have through all my practice, you need help, you call me. If you need more help, you call me. That's what this is about.
That's great.
How do I segue, or how do I coach them through a process and get them into their own protocol and process to do this on a daily basis effectively and independently?
That's great. That's really great. And how can people get in touch with you if they're interested in working with you or they have questions, or how can they follow along and learn more?
Well, first of all, I'm going to be doing more webinars. I'll be doing more videos like this. I'll be writing more blogs. I do a lot of blogging. If people go to my website, which basically is pretty easy to know, which is www.legalbaer, my name, and my last name is Baer, legalbear.com. They'll see the blogs I write. They'll see the information. They can send me directly. They can Google my name. It comes up pretty frequently in terms of elder law and things like that. So they can find me. But I'll be doing more educational work. And as I start to see some of these issues coming up, which may be an issue that someone else may want to know, then I'll be making those available. Obviously not using someone's name as a client, but at least the information about what they need to do or how they need to do it if it's unique. But I'll be available, and I can be available.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time. This was perfect.
Thank you. I enjoyed this.